Well, hello, termites. Aren't we living in interesting times? Goes from weird to bad to worse. Yeah, so I'm not going to talk about all the news because I think we've seen it. What I would like to talk about for a minute is my Caso Amigos Tequila. This is George Clooney's from Jalisco. Now, a Midwest pronunciation of Jalisco, Mexico, would be Jalisco. That's where that's from. And it would be Blanco, but it's Blanco. You guys have probably all had that. I always like to put tequila with a little fresca because why? I have the palate of a 5-year-old. I know people drink tequila straight and all that, but I just think it's too fancy. The cat was back night 3. I put food out. It did not eat it. I put food way up in the woods. It ate it, or maybe Mr. Fox ate it. I don't know. Maybe I'm attracting raccoons. Definitely some ants. I'm not one of those people that really knows how to get this cat tamed. My hair is wet because it just got out of the shower. How does that look? All right, let's get back to Tanya, shall we? We're on chapter 26 for anybody that's interested. For you super nerds, page 147. On August 16th, 1977, the world lost a hero. I couldn't believe it when I heard Elvis Presley was dead. I had to call one of his former girlfriends, Linda Thompson, and talk to her for the thing to sink in. Linda's one of the women who I believe really loved and cared for Elvis. The paper said he died of a heart attack, but people who knew him were telling stories of prescription drug abuse. And we all know what telling stories means in hillbilly land. That means they're saying what he's doing. I wouldn't call it a story. I'd call it facts. I had very little experience with drugs in 1977. Well, that's good. And the idea of hard drugs scared me even better. I had my first experience smoking pot a couple years earlier. When it happened, I was in Hawaii performing at a Dr. Pepper convention of all things. Exactly. That sounds crazy. I'd like that gig. Do they still have that? Or is anyone from Dr. Pepper watching these? Do you still have a convention in Hawaii? I'd love to be one of your entertainers. And I like Diet Dr. Pepper. I really do. My girlfriend and I were talking one night, and I'd mentioned that I'd never tried marijuana. Her eyes lit up like, let's get some then. And why the hell not, was my response. I flagged down a bellman and asked him if he could oblige us. He could and did. That would never occur to me. To go, I need some pot. Let me flag down a bellman. I don't know how pot works. I'm a drinker. I mean, I know my pothead comedian friends, but that's why I think it should be legalized. I don't understand why everybody has to have a pot guy, you know, some weird guy that they meet somewhere or they do deliveries. Like, I don't have to have a beer guy or a Caso Amigos guy. It just seems so, I don't know, 1920s. So she flagged down about my cup. We sat there in our room and smoked dope that night, and I laughed more than I ever had in my life. The next morning, I didn't have a hangover, and I thought to myself, man, that stuff was pretty good. I better take the rest of it home. I stuffed it in my luggage, and we headed back home. Well, I don't know why he did it, but within an hour of dragging my luggage into my bedroom, my dad had gone in there and searched it. All hell broke loose when he found that little bag of dope. Dope. That's what my grandpa used to call any kind of drug. Are you on dope? Do you think your cousin's on dope? Which one of you kids is on dope? All of you? None of you? Some of you? Not me. It just figured that that's the first time I tried dope. My dad busted me. He had the feeling I'd been up to no good and wanted to check. Well, I'd say, hey, Pawpaw, how about you not go through my luggage? How about you not go through my purse? Because I think I'm making all the money in this goddamn house. That's right. Yeah, you could fire him. That was the beginning of my parents fearing I was on the road to drug addiction. He also says he could tell you the first time I had sex. Okay, well, that's not appropriate. Is it, Dad? No, I don't think so. That's how close the tabs they were trying to keep on my doings. I don't think he ever quite trusted me after finding the pot. And Dale tells me even today, even 1,000 miles away, he knows if I go in somewhere and order a drink. What? Are you clairvoyant? You got the ESP? You got the powers of mental concentration. But when Elvis died, I was still more of a drinker than a drugger. Good. With the exception of my ill-fated pot experiment, I just wasn't into drugs. But I could understand how a person as isolated as Elvis might turn to them, and I knew from first-hand experience that Elvis had been in very bad shape. Even knowing what I did about his condition, his death hit me hard, because he was the king, and the king doesn't die. Oh, I felt a little the same way when I watched O.J. Simpson's Bronco chase, like the sky was falling. American heroes don't die from drugs or run from the cops. I don't know how many people would say they felt the same way about Elvis's death as O.J.'s ride on the 405. Strange. I don't think you would not think that. When I heard the news about Elvis, I booked a flight to Memphis. I didn't go as a star, but as a fan. Nobody invited me. I just felt like I had to see his body. I didn't even look at him. He seemed so small, and his face and his hands looked like plastic, because that wasn't the real Elvis in the coffin. Google it. Everybody knows he didn't die. I don't believe that, but it does make me laugh when you read those articles, because they really have worked some stuff out. You think there's theories about Hitler making it to Argentina. You should read what the Elvis people have decided he's done. They really give him a lot of credit for being able to pull this trick off. You could see what looked to me a makeshift dye job on the white roots in his hair. The Elvis I'd met was a big, robust guy. People like to trash him, saying he was fat and bloated during his last years, but I prefer to remember him as big and robust. I looked around and listened to all those hanger-oners talking about how much they loved him, how wonderful he was, and it made me sick. I knew that half of them had done things like sell special gifts he bought to them to the highest bidder. I have often felt lonely and alone on this planet, but never like the day of Elvis's funeral. The most lasting memory I have of that day, in fact, is that Elvis was dressed in a tacky-looking suit. I always thought it was a crime that Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, who was famous for his fabulous stage clothes, was being buried in a cheap polyester suit. Maybe because it wasn't Elvis in that coffin. It was just somebody else. So they didn't care about no cheap suit. I don't know if anyone was really there for Elvis, really there. I wonder if he ever reached out at the times he felt like he was falling apart. I know that I've reached out many times when I felt like I was drowning. Sometimes I've been down, had a few drinks, and called friends in the middle of the night to talk. That's called drunk dialing. What generally happens was that they phoned the next day to remind me that I got drunk the previous night. Maybe he felt that he always had to be Elvis in the same way that I think I have to be Tucker Tough. Elvis died in August of 1977. In October of the same year, on my 19th birthday, I lost my virginity. Wow, we just took a giant leap there. Although I know lots of people thought I've been burning up the sheets since I was about 15, maybe younger for all I know. Until I started working on this book, I really hadn't thought about why I never had sexual intercourse before I was 19. Part of the reason is I couldn't get clear of my folks a lot of the time. Right, because Daddy's in the other room rummaging through your luggage looking for the dope. I don't know where Mama's at, but somebody's, shadowing you. It's a term I like, shadowing. Maybe the biggest reason is part of the reason I couldn't get it as clear to my folks. But maybe the biggest reason is I was acting out when I was doing my stage show. I could parade around and act like I was a very sexual young girl without having to actually produce it. Well, but whatever the reason is, I didn't do it until the night I turned 19. I love going to Fort. Well, you know what? I think we should stop there. We should say we're going to have a big night. And we're just about to the middle. And then there's a lot of little... we'll get through this. We will. I mean, assuming we still have a country and a government. All right, termites. I'm trying to think if there's anything else really. Nothing. It's very boring. I'm trying to not be boring. But, can't watch the news 24 hours a day. I started little Fires Everywhere, a Hulu original with Reese Witherspoon. It's really good. I'm only one episode in. Finish Mrs. America. Excellent, excellent. Everyone should go watch that. And let's all start little Fires Everywhere together. Because nobody does, it's kind of like Big Little Lies. It's a little similar. I was like, ugh. I don't know if I'd have bought that. After the one already aired, I'd be like, ugh. But that's a little uplifting PSA. All right. What do we say when we're comfortable? You got your little slippers on? Has everybody got their slippers on? Where's my slippers? We go in the bedroom, take those off, climb under the sheets, and what do we say in the words of Ron White? Night-night, termites.